Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the MFFL Nation podcast. I'm your host, Mason Schwaber, and I'm here again today with Amir Zeltzer and Yona Sunshine. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Man, I'm Mavs basketball. It's rough in the off season, so doing all right. Amir, how are you?
I'm good, not too much going on, but we can always find something interesting to talk about.
We can, and that's what we always do on this show is talk about the interesting shit going on in the Mavs life. So to start it off, Mavs Summer League is done. 0-5. 0-5. We went undefeated with losses. Nothing I ever thought I'd say, but there's a first for everything. So
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say undefeated with losses, so that might just be a first.
You were defeated. You were defeated.
We were defeated.
Okay, I'll say that, guys. All right. I learned a lot from this. Jaden Hardy is not ready to be the backup point guard. He's a very talented player, but he's not ready. And he turns over the ball a pretty decent amount. I think the G League helped him a lot and develop into a professional player, but G League, college, it's different than the NBA. That's the real deal. So I think Hardy can develop later in the season, but as of right now, I think if we don't sign someone, Ntilikina and Dinwiddie are going to be that backup point guard. Even though Dinwiddie's starting, I still think he's going to play a lot of backup PG. But we got the breaking news today. AJ Lawson has signed with the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's a rough one. How we feel about that, guys?
It's a little bit overstated. He's a good player, but at the end of the day, it's just a summer league guy. We as a community, as the Mavs Twitter, we like to overreact to these kinds of things. It's just that there's a lot of, I doubt even if he was on our team, I doubt he would have gotten a ton of minutes. But I did like what I saw out of him in the summer league based on what he played, and I think the Timberwolves, and he might be able to contribute, especially with their depth issues. I think he might be able to contribute there.
Yep. And I wouldn't say we lost Lawson. If you go to Mavs Twitter, there's a lot of guys overreacting about Lawson. We think this guy's like a Hall of Famer, first ballot. No, it's a two-way contract. It's a Tyler Dorsey contract. It's no big deal.
Yeah, Moses Wright.
Yeah. So I'd assume we're re-signing Moses Wright. So I haven't heard anything official on it, but that all went down. JB had a conference today in New York. I don't know if you guys saw the video, but he was talking really good about Dallas. He thought it was going to be his home forever. So, I don't blame him. He got more money in New York. His dad's there. It's his favorite team when he was growing up, I believe. So can't blame the guy. I wish him the best of luck, and I wish he was in our jersey, but I think the Mavs are better without him. I think the Dallas Mavericks will be a better team without Jalen Brunson.
Interesting take. I don't know about that. Hopefully you're right, but
Jonah,
it's a big loss.
I think they could be, but I think it wouldn't be because he's gone. I think it would just be because Luka's averaging a 40-point triple-double or whatever. I don't think that because Jalen Brunson's gone, it's gonna make the team better. But I think it could be just because they don't. Look, they're not overpaying him like the Knicks did. So it is what it is.
I think a big thing is that just a lot of the guys are coming back. They had a lot of time to gel over the course of the year, right? We shook up the roster in February with the whole Dinwiddie and Bertans trade. And the fact that we played so well after we got him, I think that'll translate now that they've had a whole summer to, and all of training camps work out together, a little bit of preseason as well. And I think with Timmy coming back, just everyone, I think there's a really good hierarchy on the team as well. Everyone knows their roles pretty well, except for maybe Christian Wood, which seems a little bit unclear what his role is going to be. But I think we could still be better overall, not because we lost JB, but just everyone else steps up.
Yep, I hear you on that one, and I think, I'm not saying no shame in JB, but sometimes when you lose players and you get new ones, the chemistry on the court is better. It's a different system. JB was a mid-range player. The last time we had a great mid-range player was Harrison Barnes. And the Mavs weren't the best the Mavs could be with Harrison Barnes. It was sort of some rough years for us. So, I think it's going to be a change for us. I think I like Dinwiddie getting more touches. I think he's a little inconsistent, as I said in the last podcast, but, that can change. He's been working out a bunch this offseason, I've seen. Excuse me. And then Christian Wood is going to be our secondary/third guy to look to. And, he looks like a more efficient, shorter version of Porzingis, but he's stronger. I think this is something that the Mavs really need. And look at the starting lineup, man. Luka 6'7", Dinwiddie 6'5", Doe 6'7", Wood 6'9", McGee 7 foot. That's a pretty tall lineup, if you ask me. And all those tall guys are pretty fucking athletic. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess another thing is that with JB, just to go back to JB real quick, is that when Luka was off the floor and JB had the reins, we played a completely different style of basketball than to when Luka was on the court. We saw that a lot with the Utah series, where after the first 3 games that Luka didn't play, in game 4 and just going on in the playoffs after that, when Luka was on the court and Luka was off the court, we played a much different style every time. And it was a little bit weird to watch. It was a little bit of an adjustment. And I think without JB there, I think we'll play more I don't know the word for it. We'll play the same way with Luka on and off the court more similarly, because JB is just such an isolation heavy player.
I agree with you. I'm sorry, I'm looking up some stats. Like you said, it's a totally different system when Luka's off the court. And I think Dinwiddie utilizes screens very well, and he passes a lot. And that's just my biggest worry is what happens when Dinwiddie and Luka aren't on the court. Who's taking the ball up, and who's someone that we can trust? I can't tell you. I really can't, because as much as I love Ntilikina, he was playing.
He's an off-ball player.
Yeah, he was playing the 2 in the playoffs. He wasn't shooting a lot. He wasn't playmaking a lot. So,
What about Dennis Schroeder, Mason? What do you think about that?
Oh, we're getting into that later. There is a few free agents that I have my eye on that we're going to get into later. But I told you guys I had a great question for you that I couldn't reveal to you until this pod started. The question is, and this is totally off topic, would you rather build a team around Luka Doncic or Dirk Nowitzki?
It's not even close. It's Luka, and it's not even close. I'm sorry. That's really disrespectful. I know. But come on. Today, if you
not even close?
Luka is already. Are we talking about like for next year, or are we talking? Because here's the thing. If Luka has not hit his prime yet. Luka has not hit his prime yet, and he is already arguably putting up better numbers than Dirk. I know that's kind of disrespectful to say.
You have to consider the era, though.
Sure, but I think today's NBA, having a tall point guard like Luka who can pretty much do everything. He's already a top 5 passer in the league. He's probably a top 5 scorer in the league. I think his playmaking sets him apart from Dirk in that aspect. But it's I don't know, maybe so. Yeah, I might have blown it a little bit out of proportion, but I'm still sticking with Luka.
I'll say my thoughts in a sec, but you reminded me of something that I wanted to bring up. You're talking about Luka's scoring ability, how it's top 5. You tweeted out today, Mason, about how Luka's a better offensive player than Kevin Durant. You got a lot of responses from that. But in the poll that NBA University, they did like a whole bracket. They wrote that they found that Luka is the best offensive player in the league, and he beat out KD in one of in the bracket. So
I would say though, like you got to think, we have such a big fan base. Do you know how many Mavs fans probably voted for that?
that's true, but at the same time though, like KD is like one of the most popular players in the league. He's been around for longer. Like I'd say there's a lot of KD fans as well.
Didn't Luka beat LeBron in that?
He won, so I guess.
I mean, that Luka even is top like 3 is crazy, but him being 1, it's like, I mean, you can say it's voter bias, but only like to a certain point, It's not like Caruso won or something like that.
Right. And Alex Caruso did say his underdog for the NBA championship next year, the Dallas Mavericks, even without JB. He said that on JJ Redick's pod. So keep it count into that. But Amir, did you say who you choose?
Yeah. Oh, and I guess I'll go back to my internet just cut out a little bit. Sorry about that, but yeah, I agree with Jonah that Luka is the better player to build around. I mean, at this point, especially like right now, Luka's the most valuable player in the league in terms of like assets, in terms of like just his age, his skill set, just like all the combination of things. He's definitely like the player. I think the GMs had a poll. I don't know if he won. It might have been Giannis, but he was definitely up there for like, who would you build a team around if you could choose any player in the league? And when Dirk played, as much as we love Dirk, I love Dirk, but he was never like the most valuable player in the league in terms of like building a team around. Like it's more so that like he was. I think they're both able to elevate their teammates a lot just in different ways. But Luka, just in terms of his positioning, his versatility, his just his skill set, it's so valuable. So definitely Luka.
I like it. Yeah. I think in today's world, you got to build your team around a point guard. I think that's the most valuable asset to a team, and that's what's going to win you a championship. If you look at the rosters and everything, Warriors won a championship. They had Curry. When the Bucks won, they had Drew Holiday. Most of these teams nowadays have star point guards. When we won a championship, we had Jason Kidd and Jason Terry. Those are really good guards. So it's really important to have a guard, and I would choose Luka too. That doesn't say I don't think Luka's a better player than Dirk. I think Dirk is obviously the better player as of right now. Luka has to earn a few more things. He's early in his career. So, there's still a lot to look forward to with Luka, but right now I'd build the team around him. And yeah, another question I have for you guys while we're on the would you rather topics. Would you rather, when we're talking about, and we're going to come into the slideshow in a minute, when you're talking about point guards and the needs for the Dallas Mavericks, I don't see us doing a big trade this offseason. We got the Christian Wood trade, but I think we're done with the big trades. I think it would have happened by now. The front office I give them like an A at the beginning of the offseason. Right now they're sitting at like a C+. But if we somehow pull off a trade, would you guys rather have Colin Sexton on the roster or Russell Westbrook?
For me, it isn't really a question. I'd rather have Colin Sexton. Although the flexibility with Westbrook is interesting. Just his contract is huge, and he's an expiring, so that could be interesting. But I just don't think that at this point I don't see Westbrook as just like a valuable asset in the league. I mean, he can score the basketball, but the way he wants to play and the way he chooses to play the game, he has to be the number one option. And I don't think him being a number one option on a team is conducive to winning, or even like a 2 option. He was so inefficient for the Lakers last year. And even in the Wizards, like he put up big numbers, but he didn't really lead them to anything. And in the playoffs and the bubble, going all the way back to that, People just sagged on him. He couldn't really shoot the ball. And this year, he couldn't even finish as well as he has in previous years.
Yeah.
While Sexton, he's proven the ability to score. He has much more upside in terms of like his age. And he can also play a little bit more off the ball than Westbrook can.
Sonny?
I would say Sexton, but I see similarities between Brunson and Sexton. And I mean, even kind of like they're all on ball players. I'm not sure how well Sexton would play off ball. I feel like that's kind of what the Mavericks are trying to move away from a little bit. Also, I don't think what do you achieve by having Luka take up the ball? And I feel like with the price tag on Sexton, you'd rather just go if you really want like a guard off the bench. I mean, we were talking about Schroeder, and you said we would mention him later. Other guys like that are cheap. I don't know, a Ricky Rubio, TJ McConnell sort of guy. Like I don't feel like you need to splash out with Sexton just for him to be kind of repetitive alongside Luka. So, but I would say Sexton over Westbrook if that's the question.
I would say Sexton over Westbrook because I think Westbrook likes to have the ball in his hands a lot. And I just don't see Westbrook and Luka getting along well. I see a lot of locker room beef with that. A lot. So, we got the slideshow. We got a few trade proposals, discuss free agency. So I'm going to share my screen, get that up. You guys can see the screen?
Yeah.
Well, first I want to start off with the available point guards in free agency still. When you look at this list, there's a few that interest me. There's another page after this, but the first page, I like Eric Bledsoe. I really like Campazzo. He played with Luka in Real Madrid before Luka came to the NBA. Chris Dunn. And I could just see the Mavericks trying to go for Michael Carter-Williams, and Mavs are making a move for Shabazz Muhammad, who hasn't played in the NBA since like 2018.
Yeah, I think he was doing a workout with a bunch of teams. If the Mavs are interested in him, it's pretty interesting. It does fill a need in terms of how he plays, but I don't know about his ability. He hasn't played in a while.
Do you guys like anyone from this list?
I like Campazzo.
I would say, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I actually don't really like Chris Dunn. I think he's not enough of an offensive creator that we would need at the point guard spot. Or even as like an off-ball guy, he doesn't really contribute offensively. Kind of like I feel like him and Ntilikina is kind of similar. We're not even taking Ntilikina over him. Whereas with Campazzo, he's a very good facilitator. He's much better offensively, even though he's a liability defensively. Honestly, I don't see the Mavs going after any of these guys. Like they just don't. We already had. I think Darren Collinson is he even retired? Like I don't remember him being a free agent. We used to have him like back in the day. He actually wasn't bad for us, but maybe Bledsoe. I don't know.
I think to agree with Amir, I think Chris Dunn with Ntilikina doesn't really make sense. I think him or Bledsoe are probably the best two on this list. Campazzo makes sense in that he played with Luka before, and I guess he could take up that role that they were trying to get Dragic to take on with them, where he's just kind of a cheerleader. I mean, Augustine's not horrible. He's been pretty good recently. I think that like Dotson, Forrest, Frazier, Chioza, like I don't know. If the Mavericks are getting to this point, I think it's kind of scary. I would say out of these guys, I think the big one is Dennis Smith Jr., the former Maverick. I would say I don't think that they should go for him. I would say from these, Schroeder's the obvious choice, but I would also like Frank Jackson. I think he would be pretty helpful as a.
I like Schroeder. DSJ. I feel like most people want DSJ because everyone loved him when he was here. DeJuan Washington's interesting. He had a solid role for the Pacers. Don't give me Tyrell Terry. Don't give me Isaiah Thomas.
A lot of these guys are former Mavericks, actually. But yes, sorry, go ahead.
Xavier Simpson from the Magic Summer League team, the guy with the hook shot. That would be funny. But I mean, nah, I think McClung's interesting. Alfred Payton is decent, but I mean, if we could get Schroeder somehow, I'd be ecstatic.
What about
Yeah, I think
Kiefer Sykes? I think he was good for the Pacers last year.
Sykes, I don't even, to be honest with you, I've never watched Sykes play.
He was on the Pacers, so that's understandable.
actually, I like McClung. I liked what I saw out of him in Summer League and also just in the G League last year, just from like the highlights I saw from him. I think he can be a pretty good on-ball offensive player that could help us out. And then obviously Schroeder's the obvious one who's, again, also on-ball scorer. I think that's what we need off the bench. Just more guys who can handle the ball.
Okay. Well, trade talk. You guys made these trades. I haven't looked at them. So this is going to be scary and interesting because last pod, I heard a lot from the fans about this.
And I think some of my trades are better than the ones you posted. That's all right.
Okay. All right. So let's dive into these a little bit. Jonathan Isaac, I think the reasoning here for the Mavericks is if you can have two Dorian Finney-Smiths on the court, like, come on. Like, the defensive potential is insane. I think this is a move that the Magic could look into making if they're, kind of wondering where Isaac's role is on this team, considering they've got Banchero, they've got Franz Wagner, they've got Wendell Carter, they've got Mo Bamba, they have forwards. I mean, do you really want Isaac on a $17 million a year deal if like you don't even know where he's fitting into that rotation?
You don't want him for 17 mil.
Over Bertans? Yeah, you kind of do, I think. I would say this works. I think that this is kind of like resetting the asset for the Magic. They get Josh Green, who they could be interested in. He could play decent minutes off the bench, and you get a future pick down the line. So yeah, what do you guys think?
I like it. I don't think we need to give him a second rounder if we're giving them that first round.
I mean,
I'd give it a B minus C plus.
I don't know. Me personally, I just don't think we really need Isaac, but it would be interesting. Just our defense would improve, I think. But I think the bigger concern right now is our offense. Speaking of.
Okay, so here's the thing: the Hawks, they're in a weird situation with Collins. I know they just extended him, but it didn't seem like they were too happy about that. They like John Collins, but at the same time, is he really your second star next to Trae Young? I'm not sure. So
they got Murray now.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I don't know.
Third player.
I'm not sure how John Collins really fits in there. I think Maxey gives them a lot more. Maxey and Capella on the floor together is scary on defense, and you've got DeJounte Murray. That defense gets so much better along Trae Young. So I think it's interesting for the Hawks. I would probably do this. They also get a first, which will probably be in the low 20s, I'd say, mid 20s maybe. And you get Bertans, who could fill that sort of Gallinari role that they had last year. So I think this works. I'm not sure. Maybe the Hawks would want. I don't know. I think that this works for both teams.
I'd do it, and I think Atlanta would do it with a pick, 2 picks.
And at first, I didn't really see the benefit for the Hawks, but the way you explained it, Jonah, I think that's pretty fair with the whole. You need to put defense around Trey and then just replacing Gallinari's impact with Bertans. That I can see that because Collins defensively doesn't provide much, which for the Mavs is not that much of a concern right now. We have other bigs that do more defensively, slash forwards. So I think this could work for both teams. I think this would be one of those trades that if it happened, the Hawks would get slandered on Twitter, but like it'd end up being okay for them.
If it happened, I feel like a lot of Mavs fans would be upset about losing Maxey.
That's true too.
Okay. Hell no. Who did this?
So I don't think you saw Josh Hart's stats. Josh Hart, he's good, dude. He's good. I think I understand where you would be like, come on, but look at Josh Hart's stats. I promise you he's good, Mason. He gives you another guy that can take up the ball. Bullock and Green can't. I mean, I think the Blazers take this for Green in the pick. Yeah.
And I think for the Mavs with Hart, it more so combines the need of like a 3-and-D kinda. Like he can kind of 3-and-D, like be off ball, but at the same time he can also do way more on the ball. I remember he had some 40 bombs during the game or during the season, sorry. That he can really score the ball when he really needs to. So I think he can be both good on and off the ball, while the other guys we would give up here. Although I love Reggie, I think he's a really good fit for us, but this could be interesting. Pretty opposed to it, I see. Okay, that's fine.
Dude, a first-round pick with it?
I mean, the Blazers wouldn't do it without.
They got to give us something small with him.
Like minus the pick and something with Hart.
Yeah, throw in Greg Brown.
No. Greg Brown's horrible, dude. Like, I mean, come on, Mason.
Dude, he's from Dallas, though. It'd be good.
I guess.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. Like them throwing in something else.
This is.
Holy shit.
Okay, I'll explain this. Okay, I didn't make this. I found this on like fanspo.com, and I'll explain the rationale for each of these sides. So I'd say for the Mavs, it's pretty obvious. You get Donovan Mitchell, you get Matisse Thybulle. That's huge, getting star power alongside Luka and a defensive presence with Thybulle. And you give up 3 firsts, Reggie Bullock and Tim Hardaway Jr. and Josh Green. So you're making your wings better, right? You have Donovan Mitchell as a secondary playmaker, as a scorer. Not really, him and Luka defensively isn't great, but it's just obvious star power next to Luka. For the Hornets, they get Tobias Harris for Gordon Hayward. I'd say it's probably an upgrade at this point. And they give up a first, which that's probably not great for them, but Tobias could be, a scorer that they might need with some of the roster changes they've had.
Jonah, as a Hornets fan, would you take Tobias?
I mean, yeah, if we're giving up Gordon Hayward, I think that's fine. It's a cool trade, but the Jazz say no.
The Jazz
say no? They get 4 firsts. Yeah.
What?
They got 5 for Gobert. They got 5 for Gobert.
They get Josh Green and a bunch of Sixers guys who they aren't worth much either. But
Mason, who do you think says no?
It might be the Jazz still. I think you might be right, but that's not a bad return for Mitchell. I mean, the problem with the Gobert trade is that they got so much for him. I don't think there's any way they get that much for Mitchell.
I'm not gonna lie to you. This is pretty fucking fair. I mean, it's not A+ fair, but it's like it's a B+ and a half fair.
And I think also it's pretty obvious for the Sixers why they would do this.
Yeah.
Hornets, I'd say it's a plus. For the Mavs, it's a star, so I guess it's pretty good too. The Jazz, they get some picks. They get Hayward. They get Josh Green. I guess they get Korkmaz and Springer, but like that's not that much.
Oh,
It's
Joe.
most. I think the Hornets pick is the bigger but it is a Denver pick technically, so it won't be that great. But it's 4 firsts at the end of the day.
Jonah. I just got a Woj tweet. Felony charges filed against Charlotte Hornets Miles Bridges for domestic.
Yeah, maybe the Mavericks will chase after him in free agency.
No way.
Dude,
No?
Mark won't put up with that shit. Well, give me this. Give me it. I'm out.
All right, hold on. I think
How are we -3 for this?
I don't know. I guess they just think Dwight Powell's LeBron. I think that the Mavericks could look into this. Like maybe, I think it would be a little bit weird, like having just lost Brunson to the Knicks. But I would say, like, I think from the Knicks perspective, it's like, how much does Rose really have left in the tank? And then for the Mavericks, it's like, you'd rather have Derrick Rose than Josh Green for a season or two. Because I don't know, like, if you're the Mavericks, like, do you really want to commit to Josh Green long term after his rookie deal ends? I don't think so. And I think you get off the Powell contract and like for the pick. I don't know. I think this gives another ball handler to the Mavericks, and I think the Knicks, they've got Brunson, they've got Quickly, they've got like McBride and Grimes kind of who can also handle the ball. You know, I think this is okay for both teams.
It's not really getting off the Powell
Yeah,
contract because you're getting the D Rose contract for longer. But
Well, if I think New York does this if they get Mitchell.
Oh,
I
sure.
think they might have to give up D Rose in a potential Mitchell trade, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, not
No, but
necessarily
give him
the
up
Jazz.
to the Jazz, not to
The
us.
Jazz don't.
Oh.
Why would the Jazz want?
I mean, we could get in a 3-teamer.
Yeah.
That's true. Actually, I saw some of those as well.
I think we could get in a 3-teamer, and teams know. I mean, these managers, these owners, they all talk. Front offices talk. They know we need a secondary ball handler. They're gonna have. I'm sure. I guarantee you, Nico Harrison has been getting trade offers.
I could, yeah, definitely, and I could see us getting in like 3-team trades of like a huge trade, and we're like the 3rd team. Kind of reminds me of when KD signed with the Warriors, how they dumped like Bogut's contract and like we signed Harrison Barnes, stuff like that. Like,
Bogut,
so
what a legendary player.
yeah, we had it for like how many, like 40 games.
We had Bogut.
We got Bogut. Yeah, we trade the exact. I remember this because the exact trade was Bogut in a second for a second. So
I remember having Pachulia.
yeah, that was the year before.
That's awesome.
He was an interesting player.
All righty. Well, gentlemen, it's been a blast. Episode 6 was definitely a good one. I think we covered a lot. Hopefully on episode 7, there's some breaking news we could talk about. Not too much breaking news, but we're trying to entertain all these viewers. And as always, Zeltzer and Sunshine, it's a pleasure having you boys on.
Thank you, Mason.
Thank you, Schwaber. Thank you, Schwaber.
Deuces.